All right, folks, welcome back to another episode of This Week in Photo. I'm your host, Frederick Van Johnson, here to discuss a few of the more interesting stories hitting the photography industry this week are two of my really good friends, Mr. Giulio Sciorio and Mr. Joseph Linaschke. Hey, gentlemen, welcome back to TWiP.
Howdy.
All right, guys, you know, this is going to be a good show. Joseph, you are from PhotoApps Expert, and G, you're from Giulio Sciorio Photography. Let's dive in a little bit to... Before we dive into the show, I want to get some background on what your respective sites are. Joseph, what is PhotoApps Expert? What is that about?
PhotoApps.expert is the migration of what used to be Aperture Expert, and basically it is a support and tips and training site for all software photography related, all apps photo related. That's apps for your phone, for your desktop, laptop, whatever they may be. We talk about it all on there: Lightroom, Photoshop, Aperture, Photos, and a whole bunch of iOS apps.
You know, what I would like to hear out of PhotoApps Expert is a curated "this is the crap you need to buy" list. because, like, you look on iTunes and in the App Store, I can't keep up. There's just so much stuff that's coming all the time, and I know much of it is really, really great. It's good stuff, but I will never look at it because I just don't have the time to sift through it. So you're going to sift through that stuff for us?
Something like that. Yeah, we any app that looks worth talking about, do a tip on. We do now we've got set up for more videos, you can see here, so we're going to be doing a lot more video tips in the very near future, and a lot more live training as well on there. It's all finally coming together. It's taken about 100 times as long as it should have, but all that aspect of it is finally here.
I love it. I love it. At the end of the show, we'll talk about a project that you and I are collaborating on too. So
very nice. I like that.
That's our cliffhanger. Giulio Sciorio, aka G, Big G, G Money, G Town, ain't nothing but a G thing. So G, tell us what's going on at Giulio Sciorio Photography.
I basically took January off to write a ton and redefine myself as a photographer. I've been starting with one camera, one lens, black and white, and really defining my work based on who I am and what my values are, and kind of going from there. So whereas I used to be known for small camera, big picture, and I would talk a lot about cameras, they are part of my conversation still, but I'm focusing more on the bigger picture. So how can we become better artists regardless of it's photography or painting or music? And a lot of those arts have similarities. So it's a fun journey, and the new classes I'm teaching are a ton of fun as well.
And what are those classes? What are you teaching?
So I'm teaching one class on finding the photographer's vision, and that's really a class like that kind of sounds. It's like, well, how do you define what vision is, and how do you define what your own vision is, and what exercises can you actually put into action to be a better artist immediately? And that's the stuff I teach in that workshop. And the response I get from the students is super positive. People write me emails afterwards and say, hey, I actually become a better artist because of these tools without having to buy anything new or spend hours learning new hardware. I can just use what I got and up my game immediately. So that's
that's heresy, though, man. Come on, every photographer knows that in order to be a good photographer, you have to buy more gear and do what the marketers and the photography companies tell you to do, right?
Well, I love gear, as you guys know. I love gear, but at a certain point, I have to decide, okay, is this piece of gear removing a barrier to creating, or is it putting a barrier in front of that path to creating? Right. And sometimes it's hard to tell because the promise of the technology through marketing is really well done. So I think it's important for us as artists to define who we are and then find the tools that plug into that.
It's that sweet siren song of buying the next piece of kit, right?
Right.
Of course you have to have it. It's like a bug light for us. I know, it's crazy. All right, guys.
Are these classes something you're teaching online, or is this in person, locally, or what?
It will be online eventually, but right now it's just in person through workshops.
That's awesome. Right on, man.
Thanks.
And I want to point out, I mean, we didn't plan this way, but both of you guys are Lumix luminaries. So you guys, both of you shoot Panasonic. You know everything about the cameras inside and out, and you are I would go out on a limb to say that you are mirrorless fanboys, right? As am I, so I can't point fingers. I shoot mirrorless and I shoot Lumix, but I am not luminescent like you guys
Mm.
are. So you guys, I don't know, you had to like bring it down a couple f-stops so we could record this. All right, guys, let's jump into the stories of the week. The first story is about this thing right here. This is the DxO1. Let me read their lead-in. So, for the lead-in that Bruce put in here, it says, if you've had your eye on a DxO1, the professional quality connected camera that pairs with your iPhone to take amazing photos, now may be the time to pull the trigger on that purchase, as they've just announced a major update to their app and a new lower price. So, this guy, I'm going to set this up. Joseph, I know you have some insight or some more knowledge about this thing than I do, but this device, when it came out, I was like, okay, this is awesome because it gives me more flexibility and more professional quality photography ability with my iPhone than the iPhone does by itself. But then the 6S and the 6S Plus came out. So, and then I was thinking, okay, now these things, come on, the camera's better, it has image stabilization in there, all these different things that are inside the camera. Why do I need this? Now we're at this show, and they've updated this with some cool new features. Joseph, they'll take us through what the cool new features are, and then we'll talk about it.
Well, okay, first let's hit your first point though. The kind of still the difference between something like this and the iPhone.
Yeah.
It comes down to the sensor size and the optics, right? The sensor size on the iPhone is still a tiny little thing, and the DxO1's got a 1-inch sensor in it. So that's smaller than Micro Four Thirds, but way bigger than what's in your iPhone. And then the glass itself, right? And the lens on here it's got to be 4 times the area. Yeah, about 4 times the size of what's in the iPhone. So,
what does that give you? I mean, just to interrupt a little bit, what does that give me? So, with my iPhone, it's in my back pocket or my front pocket. If I see something I want to shoot, I whip it out, I turn it on, I take the picture, it goes back in my pocket. So, when I first got the DxO1, there was that gap of, okay, it's good enough out of the iPhone, and yes, with the DxO1, I can get great and outstanding, but at the cost of plugging it in and turning it on and all that stuff.
Right. A couple of extra steps.
Yeah. So what do you say to that?
Well, there's always that the best camera in the world is the one you have with you, right?
Yeah.
And if the iPhone is the most convenient camera, and it is the most convenient camera, then that's what you're going to shoot with for that fleeting moment, or that it's not the most important picture in the world. It's just something I want to take. I want to take a picture of my food. Do I need to get out the Lumix and take the picture and connect it to Wi-Fi and transfer it? Do I even need to connect the DxO1 to the phone and go through that, or am I just going to take a picture with the built-in camera? So there's always a case of, that's good enough. But then there's cases when you want it to be a little bit better and even better still, and that's where this certainly can come in. So your point about you pull out the iPhone and it's ready, that is what DxO has updated or has addressed with this the new software update. So that's precisely the point. So I think some of the viewers probably know I've done a few videos for DxO. In the past, been doing a bunch of kind of marketing videos for them, and I have a brand new one that I just got permission to show. It's going to be kind of a world exclusive here, I guess, is our first time seeing here on the show. So if you guys want to pontificate for a moment, I will get that video up.
Yeah, pull that up. I'm excited that they gave you authorization to show that on TWiP, because this is launch week for this. So, G, when you going back to what you said in the beginning, your whole idea of less is more and downsizing and taking less gear with you and kind of figuring out what your vision is. How do these things fit in? The DxO1, does it fit into that vision, or is it just another piece of kit?
It definitely fits into how I shoot, but it really depends on the type of photography that I'm going out. So if I want to be kind of casual as far as like the amount of gear I carry, but I still want DSLR quality, then I'll take the one with me. As long as I'm not going to try to shoot fast action and a few other types of photography where I would need like a long lens, or like the macro's okay, but if I really wanted a really good macro or 4K video, then the one doesn't do those things. But if it's between like this and say like the accessory lenses, like if you buy a kit of accessory lenses, you're about at the same price as a DxO1, and I would get the one over those anytime because it's got a lightning connector, and the cameras on the back of the phones could change.
Yeah.
And if it changes, like we think it may have a dual lens system for the iPhone 7, if that's the case, then all these accessory lenses won't work. But this will. And it shoots RAW plus Super RAW. See, I was hesitant to play with this. I was like, what's the point? I can use a dedicated camera. But when I realized that, there's a time to use a dedicated camera and there's a time to use something like the DxO1. When I am into using the DxO1, I'm very happy with the results. So I'm totally a convert.
It's interesting, yeah. One of the other things when the DxO1 first launched, one of the things that disappointed me was because I was looking at this thing, and I was like, this would be the perfect YouTuber's camera. If I could flip it around and aim it at myself and take video, it's the perfect YouTuber's camera. That's what you have the full iPhone view of the selfie, and you can do your YouTube videos. They didn't have that in the first version. They subsequently released updates that now enable that. I don't know if it was in this update. It may have been the one before this, right, Joseph? But they've enabled that selfie mode in the cameras.
The selfie mode was always there. I think that, as far as I know, you still can't access the camera though from other apps. So like YouTube Live.
No, but video. I just wanted to be able to shoot video of my.
Shoot video. Yeah, no, that's been there since day one.
No, not from day one. Not in selfie mode. I was like, ew. I sent feedback. You could turn it on, but not video. It wouldn't go to video mode.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, all right. So they fixed that. Not that I'm narcissistic or something. I'm just saying,
I've been experimenting with the selfie mode for video, and it is very handy.
Right? It's like the perfect. This is like the perfect device for YouTubers.
Almost. It blocks the mic.
Almost without the audio.
Yeah, but the thing is, when you if you're holding the phone at arm's length, the audio of your voice will be picked up pretty well.
Yeah. Joseph, do you have that video ready? You ready to roll it?
I do. Here, let's get that thing up and running here.
Let's roll it. I want to see this.
And it's well, let's let it go. The remarkable DxO1 is the professional quality connected camera made for iPhone. Today, users love the immediacy of taking photos with the DxO1 using their iPhone's Retina display, then sharing instantly. But the DxO1 is a camera that gets better and better long after you've bought it, as DxO releases software and firmware updates that introduce new features. With this latest update, the second since the camera was released in September, the engineers at DxO have done something truly innovative. They've turned the DxO1 into a miniaturized, pro-quality camera. With this free update, the DxO1 now features a framing assistant that you can access with a simple swipe of your thumb. This changes everything. You can now compose your shot without an iPhone attached. This allows you to capture photos in a new, fun way. Yet you can still fully enjoy your pictures with your friends and family whenever you want. Simply connect the DxO1 to your iPhone, and you'll see that all of your photos are there on the big screen. In fact, it almost feels like shooting film and getting a contact sheet back. You can review all the photos you've shot on your One, even when it wasn't connected to your iPhone. And of course, your photos are available to share instantly. Just tap the share button, and you can send to any of your favorite apps or services. If you want to keep a shot on your iPhone, you can do that too. Simply tap the transfer button, and that picture will be instantly copied to your iPhone. You can also select multiple images on the One and transfer them all at once. This latest update brings more than just the framing assistant. Let's say you like shooting in aperture priority mode at f1.8. Now, when you disconnect the DxO1 from your iPhone, your settings are fully preserved. Even after you've turned the camera off and put it away, all your settings will remain intact. When you turn the camera back on and use it in standalone, the settings are there. This applies to all your controls in all modes: ISO, aperture, shutter speed, white balance, and more. This means you can use the iPhone to set up a shot you know you want, such as a slow shutter speed to emphasize motion, then capture the photo in a situation where handling both the iPhone and the DxO1 together wouldn't be practical. You can even store video settings, then shoot in slow motion, just using the DxO1. With this new update, the DxO1 miniaturized pro-quality camera is the quickest way to capture life's fleeting moments.
All right, that's cool.
As you can see, I haven't changed the set yet since I recorded that, so...
It's like we came back into that video inside of TWiP. That's crazy. The fact that they turned on that I could see the preview on this little OLED screen on the back. That's kind of ridiculous. That's
It's
really, really cool.
it reminds me of like the Game Boy digital camera from way back in the day. Remember that?
Yeah,
It kind
yeah,
of has
I
that
remember
look.
that.
That's
I
cool, man.
remember that. Gee, with it, you saw. Okay, well, we all sat through that video. Joseph, I know you had something to do with that video, but gee, when you see something like that and you see the next level up from the original edition DxO1, does that make you want to use this more? Is it encroaching into your primary camera mode, or where does it fit?
It's making the DxO1 more useful. It's not making me say, okay, well, I can replace a GH4 with the DxO1. I mean, they're two totally different kinds of cameras, or GX8 or whatever. I mean, I think, if I'm going out and I'm gonna shoot a lot, I'm gonna use a dedicated camera because the battery in the one drains the iPhone, and just like half a day of like heavy shooting, both are dead. So it makes me want to use the camera more, but it won't make me replace my primary camera.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. The way that the DxO1 fits into my world is it's normally if when I'm going out somewhere, I feel like okay, I need to have a camera with me. So bring my camera bag with me, and if I can't bring the camera bag with me, I have to stick it and hide it in the trunk or cover it with something. The DxO1 goes in my center console there, and if I feel like there's a shot that I can't get with the iPhone, or like I'm going out to dinner or something, I just throw this thing in my pocket and I'm cool to shoot. So I think that's kind of their intended use. I don't think they put the word professional in the marketing, and I see where they're going with that, but I don't see it as like a professional replacement, like G's saying. I see it as an augment to my pro level gear that a pro photographer can say, you know what, I'm good, but I want to go enjoy my date tonight, but I still don't want to be without my camera, so I'm going to bring this thing with me.
Yeah,
Joseph,
I think it's
do you
more
think
about the professional quality. It's not that it's a professional. It's obviously not going to replace a DSLR or a mirrorless camera, or whatever. But it's a higher quality than you're going to get off your iPhone by far.
By magnitudes.
Right, yeah.
I've showed, one thing I got to say is that the fact that it uses the iPhone as part of the brains of the camera is a fantastic idea, because that way software can be updated over and over easily through the App Store, and you can get a whole new camera. I mean, maybe at some point we could shoot directly into ViscoCam or something, but I think that's what makes it powerful is the software. The stuff I process with Optics Pro, and I showed it to some professionals. Like they're like, "Did you shoot that with a D800 or a medium format?" And I'm like, "No, I shot it with this." And it's because it has the software and the high quality camera together is what makes it good.
And that's frankly what makes the iPhone itself so good, right? Is because it's the software behind it. It's not just about the sensor and the glass. The sensor and the glass on their own are maybe the best in class, but they're still mediocre at best compared to a much larger sensor and lens. But the software in the iPhone makes up for that and makes it incredible. And that's part of what makes the Lumix camera so great, why you can have a small sensor compared to a DSLR full-frame sensor and still get an incredible image. It's software. It's software at that point that's at the camera level embedded in the camera. But in this case, like you said, we got the software in the phone itself, and it's super easy to update. And we all know how much of a pain it is to update firmware on a full-size camera. That's a pain. At least some manufacturers allow us to do it, but it's a real pain in the butt to do. Here, it's just a free iOS update. You plug in your DxO1, and it says, "Oh, there's an update. Are you ready to download it?" And that's it.
Yeah.
It's pretty slick.
Yeah. The other negative that people were sort of balking about when the DxO1 first launched was the price. I mean, what did they price it at when it launched? Was it $7.99 or $8.99? It was $5.99. So they've dropped that down to $4.99 for this release, which is. Yeah, and basically they've unbundled the software from it. So if you want to just buy the camera, you can do that and get it for $4.99. But the Lightroom supports the DxO1 now, so you can import DxO1 RAW files directly into Lightroom, right, Joseph?
Right, it's a DNG file, so yeah, Lightroom supports that.
But what about the Super RAWs? Does Lightroom support the Super RAW files?
I haven't seen if there was an update that says that it does, but here was the trick, and I posted something on this about this on PhotoApps.expert. So the Super RAW file, for anyone listening who doesn't know what it is, it's the DxO1 shoots 4, is it 4 or 3? I don't remember. I think it's 4 raw files, basically milliseconds apart, and then it does some magic processing to do noise reduction. The whole point is for really high ISO, particularly high noise photography. And so it does a difference algorithm on the 4 images or 3 images, whatever it is, and removes the noise. And so you get these really clean images at really high ISO. It's pretty insane. But it's a .dxo file that comes off the camera. That is basically a package that has 4 whatever it is .dng files inside of it. So if you change the file extension to .dng, then Lightroom reads it and it just looks at the first file in there, the first DNG file. But then if you send that DNG off to DxO Optics Pro, it knows, even though it says .dng, it knows that it's the DxO file. It knows it's super raw and it accesses all the DNGs inside of it.
Cool.
Interesting.
So now, yeah,
So you
that may
have a
you may
post
not
up
need to
about
do
that?
that anymore. Lightroom may have changed to support that, and if it did, I didn't hear about that. But if it hasn't yet, then that's what you need to do. Just change the extension, and off you go.
Yeah, it's this, like, the pace of these changes in technology and these hardware, these new cameras and the new form factors. I think about this stuff and I'm like, I don't know if it's age or whatever. I'm starting to feel like I'm missing stuff because all these little microcosms of change are happening on like 100 different tangents. I had no idea DxO was doing what they're doing, and Panasonic's doing crazy stuff, and Nikon's doing crazy stuff. All this stuff is happening, and in the end, I wanted to switch the gears of the conversation to this, like the technology and the kind of look and feel of a traditional camera like this one versus something like this and stuff that's coming from DJI. What's the future? Giulio, what do you think? Like, is the future, are we going to break away from the standard this is what a camera looks like and start seeing these new kind of form factors and all kinds of cool toys?
Well, if we did, it would be going back to early digital cameras, which looked way different from a traditional camera.
Remember the quick take?
Yeah, the quick take,
the quick binocular.
The Nikon 990, that with the swivel lens reminds me of the DxO with the iPhone. I think that I think maybe in other countries we'll start to break away, but in this country people want to wear a big ass camera and they want to feel like they're taking photos, and then when it comes time to take a photo, they won't use their DSLR, they'll often use their iPhone. I see it all over Austin.
You're kidding me. So people are running around with basically camera bling, no batteries in the camera.
Well,
and when it's time to take a shot, they whip out the iPhone.
I don't know. I mean, I don't know whether they got batteries or not. I don't know, but I see it all the time. It's because mainly DSLRs are hard to share to an iOS device.
Right.
But I think so. I've been using the GX8 with this lens for a while, and I just love this combo.
Oh yeah.
But
wait, what lens is that, Mama?
This is the Speedmaster 25.95.
Oh, you're kidding
it's
me.
super tiny.
Yin Yang Optics, right? Isn't that what it's called?
And I caught the Speedmaster. As far as I go.
You have me at 0.95.
Yeah, and it's tiny, and it's $400. I mean, look at that thing. It's in fact, look, it's compared to
it's smaller than the DxO, and the DxO fits in the palm of your hand.
Right. So
look at that. Arguably, I do have really large hands, ladies.
So like I could shoot from this wirelessly on my iPhone, and I can use the adapter, the adapter that Apple makes for the SD cards. But I think what will happen is the Wi-Fi connecting will just get faster and more reliable for dedicated cameras, because you'll never see iOS on a dedicated camera. I don't imagine. Android forces people to abandon iOS. So if they're used to iOS, it's not really a selling point,
Yeah.
So
yeah. I don't know. I mean, Joseph, what do you think? Where is this stuff going, man? I mean, is it are the days of the, like Giulio saying, there's posers all over, his area that are shooting with the iPhone and then posing with the big phone. Is that where things are going, or what do you think?
Well, yeah, it's, we've seen that the cameras are obviously getting smaller and smaller, and sensors are getting smaller, glass is getting smaller, and because of software, we're still getting really good images out of it. Now, there is that camera. I was trying to remember what it was called that was announced. It's got like 16 lenses on it or something. What is that thing?
Light.
Light.
Yeah, it's called
Light.
light.
It's called light, right? So, nobody knows if this thing is real or not, but what it promises is certainly different, and that is a far cry from what a DSLR looks like. It looks more like a smartphone, but apparently really is supposed to be DSLR quality. Reserve judgment till we see one.
Yeah.
But it's changing. It's allowing us to put cameras everywhere. Everywhere. And I know, well, my pick of the week, I won't get into it now, and it's already been yours, is a phenomenally small camera that does some pretty unbelievable things. So cameras are changing shape and size already. That's not something that's coming. It's already happened.
I love it.
It's great, yeah.
And
And it comes
I
down
think
to what's the best camera for the moment. It's like we talked about, are you going to carry your DSLR or mirrorless or whatever to dinner? Not really. But I want something better than my smartphone, whether it's an iPhone or Android, whatever. So that's where the DxO1 fits. There's a place for everything.
Yeah.
Which is just great for us.
I was thinking about the other day. I was thinking about the Theta. In the whole movement of 360 degrees video. Yeah, it's amazing. I love that thing. And I was sitting in the living room with my Theta, just sort of shooting. And then I have Nest, the Nest system in the house with Nest cams and stuff for security. And I'm thinking, why do I have Nest cams here? Why is it not at least 180-degree video that I can look around in? It seems like that kind of stuff seems like the perfect application for this for mirrorless or this kind of next generation technology. You get rid of these normal cameras and put these kind of new next generation new form factor cameras in place to do things that we didn't think we could do before.
Yeah,
it's crazy. All right, guys, let's take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to talk about DJI. Speaking of weird-looking cameras, that company's now offering insurance to protect you when you crash your drone. All right, guys, we're back. DJI, the leader, arguably, in the drone space, which is continuing to heat up. I forgot, Giulio, you may know this, but I saw some figure of I forget how many drones were sold in 2015, but it's more people than I knew were in the United States, I think.
I don't know the figure, but it's been a lot.
It's a lot. I'm one of them. It's a lot of drones been flying around, and I'll tell you from personal experience, the biggest problem I have with my drone is fear of crashing it, because it's basic physics. You put this much money into this thing that's in the air, that you don't know how to fly. You're scared you're going to lose your money, and you can really easily lose your money. So it looks like DJI has figured this out, so that after you just purchase that shiny new drone and you fly it, you can buy DJI insurance for, $129 for a year of coverage for the $499 Phantom 3, and $700 you can pay them, and they'll insure the Inspire 1, which costs $4,000, which seems like a small price to pay when you're flying an Inspire 1, especially if you're doing it for work-related reasons. So if you're just a hobbyist or whatever, probably doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Just learn how to fly better. But if you're flying for commercial purposes, I don't know. It's really interesting. Joseph, what do you think about this? I mean, So let me tell you what I think about it first. This is my show, man. This is my show. So this is what I think. So being a new drone owner, I want facilities in my drone so that you have arguably an airborne supercomputer, military grade, that's talking to GLONASS, the Russian satellites. It's talking to GPS. It has a compass in it, accelerometers, all this stuff, a gimbal, all this technology in this device. Yet a 2-year-old knows that if you tell it to go to mommy, that don't go and run yourself into the swing set first. Go around the swing set and go to mommy. Drones can't do that today. As we record this, if they want to go home because they're running low on power, they will go directly. They'll make a beeline home, and they don't care what's between them and home, causing them to crash, causing you to file a claim with DJI if you have this insurance. So that's what I want to see in these things. Joseph, what do you think?
I think what you think. No, it's
good answer.
clearly, it should do things like move around objects on its own, and when it's going to navigate its way home, that seems fairly obvious. But maybe this is a cheaper way for them to, or not cheaper, I shouldn't say, a way for them to resolve that problem until they resolve it technically, is to at least pay for it if it does something like that. If it decides to come home but runs into a tree on the way, yeah, I'm sure that they've got like a little black box in there. They know exactly what's going on. They know that it was in auto, oh god, I got to get home mode when it hit that tree. And then maybe they'll pay for that insurance claim.
Yeah.
It's great. I mean, it's insurance is good for everything, right? We insure our camera gear as professional photographers. It's just part of the gig. You have to plan on spending that money every year. I guess having an insurance policy directly with them as opposed to just through your regular insurance agency maybe makes it easier to make that claim. But also it may be that the insurance agencies won't insure them. I don't know. I don't own one, so I've never tried. But like I know I can't put my iPhone on my insurance policy. The insurance company goes, yeah, we're not insuring that because they know that it's just too likely to get damaged.
Yeah. Yeah, I wonder. I mean, yeah, when I look at this, I'm thinking, yeah, like I was saying on the commercial side, yeah, it makes sense for it's a commercial business expense. Pay it, it's part of doing business. But from a hobbyist standpoint, from my standpoint as a new guy just jumping into this and learning how to fly, I don't know. I'm on the fence. One side of me, G, I want to have you chime in on this. One side of me says, dude, take that money that you were going to pay and invest that in training and learn how to fly this thing correctly and operate it like a non-idiot, And then the other side says, hey, you never know what's going to happen. It's a small price to pay. You spend a lot of money for this drone. Just drop that down, and you have peace of mind. Now you can fly like a crazy man and not have to worry about crashing your drone. Gee, what do you think?
Well, I think it's smart for DJI to offer that, but it doesn't cover if you run it into some person or somebody else's property, and that's where, I mean, personally, like, okay, I have a couple units. If I were to crash it, it would suck, but if I were to crash it into somebody, I could care less about the equipment. I'm more concerned with the person, and I don't think that DJI is gonna that insurance would cover that. So I think it could be a good policy to have with some sort of insurance that covers liability. But the problem is that there's so many people that just want the cheapest drone. They're not thinking about how well is it made, how good is the software inside of this flying camera. I mean, that's if that usually you get better software with more expensive cameras or drones, and with better software comes things that make it easier to fly. I fly a 3D robotics solo, and with that just built into the software, if it crashes, it automatically sends a report directly to customer service, and then you just take the phone out of the controller because you use your phone as a screen. You can call them, and if it's their fault, then they'll replace it for free. If it's your fault, well, then not so much.
Now that's funny. How do they know whose fault it is?
It's their radio software.
If it came in contact with an inanimate object, like how
they know that they know something collides with it.
Okay.
So they know that stuff.
But Joseph, both of you guys are right. I mean, the big question of this is, we're talking about damage to the drone itself, but liability is the other piece of it, right? You're flying this thing, and you decide, hey, I'm going to go get a great shot of the Golden Gate Bridge between the towers, and you crash it, causing a 500-car pileup on the Golden Gate Bridge. Who's liable for that? Is DJI going to pay that? Probably not. They're going to pay for the damaged drone, but not for anything else.
I think of it this way. So you're basically flying a blender with 4 blades on it. Okay? And not to be like extreme, but you can go into drone forums and you can see people that are missing fingers. And it boils down to the user going into it too quick and trying to do advanced moves and not learning how to fly your camera. And the software can give you undeserved confidence that you can do moves when you really shouldn't be doing them. If you just slow down. I mean, so many times you see like people crashing their drones, and where are they flying them? In their neighborhood, around houses, around cars. I mean, they're trying to do these advanced moves, and it's like, well, of course it's going to crash. But if you're being smart about it, then no. It's just like the same thing. Like, should you be doing a photo shoot in the middle of some train tracks? Not really, you know.
Right. Well,
Well, for
depends.
one, we're tired of seeing those pictures, so that's number one reason not to do it.
Yeah, exactly. So I think the
Yeah.
insurance is a good thing. I think it is.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. I don't know. Yeah. I still maintain the whole idea that just learn. Like, I think it goes to what you're saying, G. Just learn how to fly your drone. That false sense of security that you mentioned is a big deal because I'm literally going through this ramp of learning how to fly. I'm flying almost every day, forcing myself to fly almost every day to get better and better with the controls. And I recently hit the point where, gee, you probably hit last year, where I'm no longer flying in like right angles. So you like fly to a spot, turn, and then fly to another spot. I finally reached the point where I felt like I can make like Bezier curves in the air.
Yeah. Okay.
But then with that comes this weird sense of, okay, now I know how to fly this thing, and as you start taking risks, and I was, not that I was in harm's way or putting anyone in harm's way, I'm in this open field, but I'm like trying to get to know the controls better, and I almost lost control of the aircraft, because I'm pushing it and trying to do things that I wasn't necessarily ready for. And then the other piece of it was, part of what pushed me to try things were watching all these damn drone racing videos on YouTube.
Yep.
It's like, of course, I'm flying an X-wing fighter now. I have to go fast and close to the ground. So I don't know. I mean, Joseph, you've seen the drone racing things. I mean, how do you think that fits into all this stuff? Is this like a complete different world from regular drone flight?
The next big sport. It's cool. I mean, obviously that's a lot of fun, and you give people these kind of toys, they're going to find ways to have a lot of fun with them.
Yeah.
That's like racing. We know people who have very expensive cars that take them on racetracks, and they get them messed up. They get them messed up. That's just part of the deal. But at least you're driving the car the way it was meant to be driven. That's fun.
Yeah, if you can't afford a maintenance, don't buy it.
Right. That's very true. Yeah, it's like people complain about the cost of an oil change on a Ferrari. It's like, well, if you can't afford that, then you can't afford the Ferrari. So, shut your pie hole. This is a car that's meant for a particular budget, and it's not for everybody.
That's right. Yeah, it's crazy. But you gotta love this stuff, though. I mean,
oh yeah.
Giulio, I remember you and I were talking a couple of years ago, before either one of us had a drone, and this stuff was impossible to do. Like, I remember you did a webinar on TWiP, and you were like flying drones back then, 3DR drones, and taking aerial shots of dune buggies doing donuts and crazy stuff like that. Never before possible, and now we have the ability to do that.
With smart shots, I can do an orbit around something in a perfect circle. And then I can actually go up and down as a corkscrew with the perfect circle, and I can expand that while going up and down, and it's all through software. It's all through software. It's like it's amazing. It's like I treat my Solo as a flying camera.
Yeah.
So when I'm using it, I want my camera to go up a couple hundred feet, and that's how I treat it. And I get really good results with it. I used it on a photo shoot I did recently for some BTS footage. And it was fun, and it was for a government agency too, and they loved it. So,
was it the FAA?
No, it was Department of Health.
Okay, they don't get along with the FAA anyway, so it's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, guys. I am going to time permitting, and hopefully this is past Frederick, hoping that future Frederick and future Eric Chang came through. As we record this, tomorrow morning, DJI is making an announcement about their next big thing. It's kind of like their Macworld announcement from back in the day. So right here is where I'm going to insert an interview that I did, or am going to do, with Eric Chang, about the DJI announcement that will have happened after I'm saying these words.
I'm totally lost.
All right, here we go. All right, guys, so that was Eric Chang telling us all about the DJI announcement, whatever it is they announced, because past Frederick has no idea what current future Eric Chang talked about. All right, guys, after this break, a photographer in Toronto, Canada, was kicked off the beach based solely on the gear he was using, and it goes deeper than that. All right, guys, this last story, a photographer got kicked off of a beach in Toronto. Let me read the lead-in for you guys. So, photographer Ryan Visima recently shared the details of a run-in that he had with a maintenance worker on a Toronto beach who told him that he couldn't take photos of his friend without a permit. When Ryan inquired as to why, he was told that it was because he concluded that Ryan was doing commercial photography based on the gear he was using. So, first of all, I want folks to just go to This Week in Photo and click over to this. This is Joseph. You sent this to us. It's over on Petapixel. So the story itself is really interesting. It's a chronology, almost a narrative of this guy's run-in with this brain-dead worker on the beach who's just it's laughable, and it'll make you clench your fist and grit your teeth when you're reading it as a photographer. Joseph, when you saw this, the gist of it is this person who had no idea what the photographer was doing, based solely on some obscure line in a law, said that you can't be shooting on this beach because he was there with a model, and I think he had a light stand, but he wasn't even using it at the time, right? So it just like take us through the story a little bit, just from the top, and and give us your hypothesis.
Yeah, right. So Ryan, the whole thing is that Ryan, he is a professional photographer, but at this time he wasn't shooting professionally. He was just shooting personally. A friend of his down on the beach shooting some basically glamour shots of a pretty girl down at the beach at sunrise. And he had his professional DSLR with him because that's what he's shooting with. And he had a light on a light stand, which he actually wasn't using. But for the most part, that light on the light stand was his undoing here. And this maintenance worker, who has frankly no authority to do anything about it, told him that he was breaking the rules and he was going to get a fine if he didn't stop shooting right away. He'd be calling the authorities on him and so on. It was all because he was shooting with professional gear, therefore he's shooting commercially. And according to this guy, you needed to have a permit to shoot commercially, which obviously Ryan didn't have. Because it was so early in the morning, Ryan couldn't call the right office to find out if he really needed a permit to be doing this or not. But the really sad part about it is when he called later on to talk to them about it, they asked him what type of camera he was shooting with, as if that is supposed to make any difference.
That just got me right there. That piece of it, like what are you shooting with? As if they had some carnal knowledge about what constitutes a professional camera versus a non-professional camera.
Have you seen the video? I'm going to forget the name of the photographer unless I can find it real quick, on f-stoppers, where this guy does professional photographer does a whole thing about how the iPhone is a great camera, and if you're a professional photographer, you can get great images even with an iPhone. Yeah. And if you are not a great photographer, you can have a great camera and still get crappy pictures.
Absolutely.
And he does this. He shoots these great pictures with the iPhone. He knows how to control his lighting, knows how to control his bounce, and knows how to use Photoshop. And the end results are gorgeous. So it's to see somebody on the beach. I mean, if Dad, who just happens to be able to afford a big Nikon D whatever big huge camera and a long lens, goes to the beach with that, and he risks getting stopped for being a commercial photographer because he's got a big camera, that's ludicrous. It's just insane.
I think it's an artifact of days gone by. It's like the current. If you were up to date on what current technology is, and that, hey, you could do a professional model shoot with this if you wanted to.
Of course you can.
Right, yeah. So though, people just they don't understand it. I don't know. G, what about you? What did you think of this story? And have you ever been accosted like this for shooting?
I have been accosted several times, but it's but before I get into that, I mean, reading the article, I mean, it's all hearsay. So how much is exaggerated, how much is actually truth, we don't really know. But I've been in similar situations, and you can argue with the person, and it doesn't. At that point, the shoot's over. It's just over. If you don't have a permit, whether you were supposed to or not, doesn't matter. I mean, because they're going to start busting your chops, and then you're all frustrated, and then you're not going to get good shots anyways.
Yeah.
It's just over. But we can't expect maintenance people or any public workers to understand who's a professional, who's not a professional. I mean, they have to draw a line in the sand somewhere and say, okay, if this person is carrying $4,000 or $5,000 of what appears to be for a camera, then they got to draw a line somewhere. So I get that guy's frustration, the photographer's frustration, because it's happened to me several times. But at the same token, if you don't have a permit, then there's no recourse. You just gotta let it go.
Yeah, which is scary that you have to let it go because if you're just out there and you're just trying to get some good shots, and this person that is ill informed about the law decides that they are informed and they wanna pull a I have micro power over you at this point at this moment and ruin your day, they can. Right?
Like a
I don't.
Secret Service agent choking a photographer for Time magazine. I mean, that could be another thing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it comes down to how far you want to push it too, right? If you're that photographer and some guy who clearly doesn't know what he's talking about is trying to tell you can't shoot, and he's threatening to call an authority and he's going to write you a ticket, it's up to you at that point. How far are you going to push it? Are you going to say, fine, call the cops, I know I'm right, and then get into an argument with the police, and if the police gives you a ticket, well, then you can take it to court and deal with all that. Are you willing to do that, or would you rather just say, forget it, I'm out of here and walk away? Someone's got to fight the good fight, and sometimes you don't have the time or the inclination, or you just don't want to deal with it, but sometimes you can and do, and you got to do it.
I like to put it out there for the photo community. If you got more time and more money than a city that you live in, totally go for it, because we could, as a community, could use your help. But when it boils down to time and money, I think most of us are just going to kind of put up our hands and get upset and walk away. I mean, well, I don't know what else could be done.
Yeah, I don't know. I can see both sides of it. Yeah, Joseph is saying, "Hey, fight for your right to party," and G is saying, "I fight authority, but authority always wins." Right? So, what do you do?
If you got more money and more time, you could totally do it. But or you could just kind of go, leave the beach, go get a morning cocktail, and an hour later go back out on the beach and finish your shoot.
Wait, what exactly is a morning cocktail again?
Anything you drink in the morning.
I don't know how you guys roll in Texas, man, but dang. That's a margarita, but it has a yellow umbrella in it instead of a red.
There you go. Now it's okay by church and state, so it's good.
As a matter of fact, have you ever had a Bloody Mary? Come on, that's the perfect breakfast beverage.
There you go.
I'm not a fan of the Bloody Mary, man. It's like I don't know why. All right, guys. Well, Joseph, thanks for forwarding us that story from Petapixel. That was really interesting. I love those kind of controversial stories. All right, guys, let's jump into the picks of the week. This is the segment where you guys can recommend something to the TWiP Army as long as it is somehow related to photography. Giulio Sciorio, I'm going to let you go first, man. What's your pick of the week?
I have two, so I'll go quick. But my pick of the week is the Adamus Shogun, which is a solid-state recorder for the GH4 and other cameras. I used it recently on the shoot to help take first of all, it took the signal from the GH4, the video signal, and gave me an uncompressed ProRes file. So the image quality is gorgeous. It's the best you're going to get out of the GH4. And then on top of that, I was able to feed the signal about 50 feet away to a video village where the clients could look at what I was shooting on a large 17-inch monitor. So it was handy. I mean, once it's all set up, you plug it in, HDMI, got a battery on there, and you're rocking. So
nice.
it's a wonderful device, especially at that price point.
All right, what's the price point again?
That's built into the Shogun?
What's that?
The transmitting is built into the Shogun?
Yeah, through HD SDI, so it's a cord. It's not wireless.
Oh, okay, got it.
Yeah. So, but you can go up to. I mean, you can easily do 100 feet with it. So, it's on the shoot, I was like, okay, well, we could use a red red camera solution, and it would have put us $5,000 over budget, or I could have just used the GH4 and a Shogun, and that's what we ended up going with. And the clients love the work, they love the images. I was able to use the images right away because I took the SSD out of the back of the Shogun and downloaded at USB 3 speeds to a RAID, and I was editing.
Nice.
I mean, it's phenomenal.
All right, phenomenal at what price?
$14.95.
$14.95? I'm gonna buy that.
No, $1,400. But I mean, this is a device that only a few years ago didn't even exist really for any price.
Yeah, man, I love that. And these are the tools, right? So it's when you talk to people and they're like, hey, I'm gonna get into this 4K video, I'm gonna shoot pro and all this stuff. This is part of the kit that you need in order to shoot pro. Right? It's not just a little red button on the camera, which you can do a lot with that, but that's not it. If you want to kick it up to like these cinematographer levels, like the stuff that you're shooting and Joseph shoots, right? That you need these kinds of tools if you want to get those kinds of shots, right?
When you need it, you need it. The Shogun's not something I use every day, but when I need it, that's the only solution.
Yeah, yeah, cool. All right, well, thanks for that. $14.95. I mean, 1,499, $1,500 for that, which is a small investment because these types of things like that display is not like you're going to be upgrading that every year, right?
Right.
It's not. You're going to buy that and you're going to use it until it breaks, and then you're going to either get it fixed or buy another one, right?
Yeah, and they've updated this with many firmware updates, adding all sorts of new features now. You can have your own built-in looks, and you can show the client what the look is going to be in post or not. I mean, and what you record. I mean, there's so much flexibility to it.
Yeah. And I'll add to that they have a lower cost version of that, which I own, which is the Ninja Assassin, and the only difference is it drops the SDI ports off of it. So if you don't need SDI in or out, then the Ninja Assassin's $1,000. So it's a third less, and it's incredible. Same thing, ProRes 422 HQ. It's an incredible device.
All right. Well, cool. Well, gee, thanks for that, man. Awesome.
But
All right, Joseph, what about you? Speaking of incredible devices, what do you have to share with the TWiP Army?
So apparently you picked this already a few weeks ago, but that's okay. I'm going to pick it again anyway. This is the DJI Osmo. This device is made by the same company we were talking about earlier that does the drones, and it's got the same crazy stabilization technology in it that's in the drones, and it is unbelievable how stable this thing is. We shot, if you saw the video for the DxO1 earlier, all those moving shots were shot with the Osmo here. And they're just so steady, so smooth. It's pretty slick. So I know you've got the screen up. If you want to go back to my picture for a minute here, you'll see how this thing is moving as I move it around. How the head is just staring at the screen there. It doesn't matter where I put it; it's just staring at the same place, and it's kind of creepy, frankly.
It's kind of creepy. I mean, they should put some eyelashes on that thing. It looks like an eyeball.
No, this thing is so incredibly cool. So yeah, I'm loving this thing. I was able to get up and running with it really quickly. It takes a little getting used to get good smooth movement, so that you just so you know how to control it. But a few test runs with it, and I got a hang of it, and yeah, I'm really impressed with the results. And it shoots 4K. Hello.
Yeah. 4K, and it shoots stills, and you know what's cool about that I was thinking about the other day is it has that panoramic mode, either 360 or 180, where you can just set it and hit the button and it will robotically turn the head to get perfectly stitched, stabilized images across the span. I was thinking it's just software, right? They should be able to program that thing to do a grid, right? So it should be able to do like multiple rows perfectly, and then stitch them together to give you gigapixel photography, right? Why not?
There you go.
This is
Why
software.
Why not?
Oh.
Yeah, we were doing on the
I like it.
On the bike shots in the DxO1 video. So I've got the bike mount for this, and this was mounted onto one of the bicycles. So you see the two bikes going. There's a third bike behind him that's got the Osmo on it. And we're playing with the different modes, and there's a mode where you tell it to point one direction, and it stays pointed that way. It ended up not being good for the shot, but we tried it. So the cyclists go down a hill, and the camera stays pointing in the same direction. Then, of course, they have to turn around and come back up. So they turn around and come back up, and the camera just turns around, continuously pointing the same direction, pointing down the hill. And so the cyclist is riding back up, and the camera's pointing straight at him because that's down the hill. It's pointing the direction it's supposed to. It's like, oh my god, that thing is so cool.
That is cool. That is cool. I mean, it's another example of the shape of things to come, right? Or the unpredictable shape of things to come. Who knew that we were going to get a camera that could do this? Yeah. And and again, this is in a similar vein as the DxO1, right? Because the DxO1 uses the iPhone as the brains and the display. This guy uses the iPhone as the brains and the display, with the addition of a gimbal, a 3-axis gimbal on this to stabilize the footage as well. So I don't know. I mean, it's lots of cool toys to play with, and you know what I want to see to both of you guys? I want to see, like Joseph, you've started doing this, and I'm sure you're doing this as well. I want to see stories that are created that weren't able to be created before with this new technology. Like with the Theta, with the 360-degree
Mhm.
cameras.
Right.
Right now, we're in that honeymoon period of, hey, look, it's 360. You can look around. I want to see something that the fact that you can look around is an afterthought. It is part of the overall story. It's part of the narrative instead of being a demonstration of technology, which is what we're seeing. When you get new toys, everything becomes a demonstration of the technology. I
Sure.
want to see the story being told with this stuff. So I'm throwing the gauntlet down to both of you. So make it happen.
What's interesting to me is that there's all this amazing camera technology and photo technology, and none of it comes from traditional camera and photo companies.
Yeah.
So that's a big turning of the tide right there. I mean,
Mhm.
why isn't that a Canon or Nikon Osmo? I
Right.
mean, maybe we'll see a Canon Osmo, and they'll just use an A instead of an O. Uh, Osmo, which was on South Park, I think. But
Well, Canon announced the new ADD, which someone told me online that it should have been called the A letter DD, ADD.
nice.
So,
But
it's funny.
it's interesting
All
how
right.
that's changing. I mean, the cameras have really become a paintbrush, and so now it is like you said. You have these paintbrushes. How is that going to help you be a better artist?
Yeah,
Yep.
that's right. That's right. Yeah, I mean but it's weird because we're constantly in this period of new tools coming out or existing tools being updated, like the DxO1, right? It's a tool that's been out for a couple of minutes, and now it's updated and it's got new capabilities, which means we need to learn this new tool, and you have to learn the tool and figure out what the capabilities are before you can start even ideating and coming up with stories around the new capabilities that you have. And by the time you get to the point that, oh, I get it, look at all this cool stuff, I want to start this story, now you got new tools and new updates to the old tools.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
Yeah.
we're like, we're Fred Flintstone on the treadmill here. So, and Julio, like, to bring it full circle, that's what you were talking about in the beginning of the show, of just kind of casting all this stuff aside and concentrating on the vision and the story, right?
Yeah, because the gear is going to plug into that. If there's anything that I get, whether it's on loan or I'm going to buy it, if it's something I got to spend more than an hour learning the basics, then I just bypass. I
Yeah.
don't. I mean, unless it's something where like say like Photoshop, or which I know that I'll be using for years and years and years. Obviously, I'm going to put more than an hour in, but everything you should know within an hour, the basics.
Yeah. No, I hear you. All right, guys, I'm gonna wrap this up. I have a pick of the week this week. I don't normally have a pick, but this week I have one, and it's this guy. You may have seen this. This is the.
Mm.
You see that? This is the Platypod.
Yeah.
The Platypod Pro. And what it is when you buy this thing, you don't get this tripod head on it. You get this plate with mounts for your tripod head or for a traditional tripod mount here. And this thing is deceptively small because it just slides into any pocket in your bag. And I'm gonna screen share here and show you what it looks like in action, if I can find it. Here it is. Um, so what it looks like is this, right? So it's just a little foot. I mean, just think of it as a foot for your camera, and it's deceptively simple because normally when you're out and about, you feel compelled to have a tripod with you or some sort of mount with you so you can get the shots that are required by a tripod. Or if you're shooting video of some sort and you need to stabilize the camera, of course you're going to have your tripod with you. But if you're in this whole world of less is more, and you don't want to carry this big camera bag, you don't want to lug around a tripod, this thing stays in my bag and I can stick my camera on top of it, stick it on top of a table, and I'm recording fully stabilized video, no matter what. So it's interesting. It's different. When I first got it, I was thinking, okay, why would I use this over my Gorilla Pods or whatever? The Gorilla Pods also are relatively bulky. This thing literally slips into a pocket in my bag, and I can continue shooting with it. So yeah, I thought this deserved to be a pick of the week because it's actually really, really cool, and it's one of those solutions that's like, duh, of course, I need that thing, and it should have been in my bag all along. So it's called the Platypod Pro, And yeah, we'll link to the site and all that stuff in the show notes for this episode. I'm looking at the site now to find out what the price is. So the base plate itself is, wait for it, $29.95. So $30 for this plate that I have here, and it's it works well. Or you can spend $45 or $44.95 and get two of them, and put in, give one to your wife, G, and
There you go.
rocking and rolling.
Perfect.
Oh, I almost lost my camera. All right, guys, we are at the end. We are at the end of another episode of This Week in Photo. Joseph Linaschke, also known as Photo Joseph, where can people go to keep up with you?
Photo Joseph on all the socials, and PhotoApps.expert as well, also on all the socials.
Awesome. And the site's going well?
Site's going well.
Awesome. Kicking butt. Giulio Sciorio, what about you? Where would you like people to go to keep up with you?
You can go to giuliosciorio.com, or if you want to go direct to the blog, just go to creatorspath.org.
Creatorspath.org.
Yes,
That's new.
That's new.
It's the start of something that's the next continuation after the workshops and the whole bit.
See, I feel like you need to have like a brown, or an orange robe on and a stick, and
I've got the pipe, so I'm almost there. I'll be like, hello, welcome.
Exactly. I'm just speaking Yoda-isms. I love
Yes,
it.
exactly.
Cool,
Yeah,
man.
I like the portrait you've got of yourself there on that website.
Yeah, that's nice, huh?
Oh, wait a minute. Oh, you can't throw that out there and not have me go to it.
That was shot by Joseph.
Wait, which one is it? Wait, where is it? Where's the shot?
It's on my about page. It's Joseph.
Or just on the landing page, scroll down to the bottom. I'm like halfway down, and you see him on the right. This is the
Okay.
headshot.
This guy right here?
That guy right there.
That's it.
Look at that shot. Look at that. How can you not trust that face right there?
Yeah. Hey.
What'd you shoot this with, Joseph? That looks fantastic. That's a great portrait.
That is the GH4 and the Nocticron lens, the 45 1.2.
Of course, it's the Nocticron lens. What else could it be other than that Nocticron?
Such a good lens.
It is.
It is.
Beauty.
All right, fellas. Thank you both for coming on the show. We're at the end of another episode of This Week in Photo. I want to thank our sponsor this week, or actually FreshBooks, not This Week in Photo, FreshBooks for their support. Also, be sure to visit our website over at thisweekinphoto.com, and you can also follow us on Twitter and Facebook, and also subscribe to our YouTube channel, on which you can comment, like, and subscribe. And with that, guys, it is time to take that lens cap off.